to block 3. All right, things that we need to know on block 3. This one has the same procedure as the others. For this organza, you have the option, on this one, I didn't stitch it and gather it. I just kind of folded it a little bit because I just wanted it to have more of a natural look than pleated folds on it. So that's how you take care of that. Other than that, it's the same as the front one. Let's see, things that I want to teach you on this one. First, I want to talk about the instructions for each of these cute little pots. They're not all different, but there's several differences in how they are stitched. So if you turn in your instructions to block 3, it says right here, alternate chain stitch, 4 horizontal straight stitches, close blanket stitches, needle weave bar, and 2 horizontal straight stitches. So let me show you examples of each of those. So the first one says chain stitch. So let's see, which one did I do a chain stitch across the top of? That's this one. And you see how that one's I just did a little row of chain stitches across the top. They all have 1 stitch on each side, 1 stitch across the bottom, and then they have something different across the top of each one. So that's the chain stitch. This is 4 horizontal straight stitches. You can see 3, the 4th one falls off a lot. Close blanket stitch is this one. So it's just got those little blanket stitches across the top, a lot the same as what we did on this one, but just across the top of there. Close blanket stitches, a needle weave bar. This one right here is the needle weave bar, and I'll talk about that when we talk about stitches. And 2 horizontal straight stitches is this one, just one at the top and one at the bottom. Okay, so I did it one way through that way, and then I went through and did them again. Those are assorted ways so that each pot did not look exactly the same. Okay, we need, let's see, what else? These are bullion knot stitches here, and a bullion knot loop, and I will show you that one of how we get those to look right. And then usually even if there's 3, I did like a fly stitch plus an extra stitch for the stems for these. And then these are just little French knot flowers on the top for the geranium. So I'll talk about how to do the geranium leaves. This is just like we talked about with the last one, how we had fly stitches or feather stitches, and then we added leaves. But this time I deliberately added either 2 or 3 to the tip, to each of the tips, and sometimes to the bases. That's a close buttonhole or blanket stitch. This one right here is actually just straight stitches, but they were long enough. I tacked them down in the middle to be pretty. But this right here, I'm going to talk about how to do this. This is like a bullion knot done in the form of a stem stitch, done in the same format as a stem stitch. So I'll talk to you about that one. These little guys are each little fly stitches that have a straight stitch in the middle and then 1 fly and a second fly. And I alternated the direction each time, and they actually go off the edge. And I just turned them different directions and filled in the space. And in that way, it's like one of the stitches that just fills in all of this, a seed stitch that just fills in all the space. But instead of them being seeds, they're actually a little bit bigger. And there are very few spots, but like, see that one right there? I can find 1. That one only has 3 just because there was not quite enough space there. And other than that, I was usually able to go ahead and fill them all in with that same shape. And their thread is contrasty enough that it gives the look, to me, it gives the look of an evergreen type bush. Okay, and then this one right here, I used, again, one of my handy dandy templates. We have one of our templates is hexies. And this is just the small hexies. So I just marked the corners of that and went ahead and did a straight stitch along each of the edges, and then went back in the vertices and added a bead to each of them. If you do not have this hexie set and don't want to do hexies, you could do a diamond grid or just do a square grid, but turn it on its side so it ends up looking like diamonds, and that would have a nice effect on that too. Okay. I think that's everything on this one. Don't forget when you're cutting it out to add your extra to the edge right here on your green, and make sure you've added it to the edge right here. Some of those cases I went ahead and drew the patterns because I draw all the patterns on my computer. And then when I laid them out, I went, oops, you needed to add an edge. And if I added an edge and moved them on the pattern, there wasn't enough space for it. So if it says add to it, add to it. If it doesn't, then it's already there. All right, so we need to talk about this bullion stitch. We need to talk about this bullion knot stitch. I think that was everything that we need to talk about on this for stitches. Okay, since they're variations of a bullion knot stitch, and we have video tutorials about a bullion knot stitch, I'm going to go ahead and leave this one right here in the middle of this section. So when you are trying to do a bullion knot stitch that is in the form of a stem stitch, stem stitches, okay, I have a white pencil that I can write with. Here it is. Oh, let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit. And then make sure that we are within the video space. Okay, if I stay next to the green, you should be able to see it. Okay, so when we are doing a stem stitch starts here and goes out to here and back to here and out to here and back to the same one here. So I'm going to draw it. It goes out to here, and then you go back, and then you come to this one and go back, and then you come to this one and go back, except that they always lay kind of rope-like. I don't have a large stem stitch that you can see anywhere, so I'm going to start by showing a stem stitch. A great big huge stem stitch. Okay, so the stem stitch would start here, go out to this spot and come back, and my thread is always going to be down towards me, and that will make these lay on top of each other nicely, almost rope-like. So when we're going to do bullion knots in the form of a stem stitch, we want to start and stop in the same places that we did with the stem stitch, but instead of doing a straight stitch each time, we're going to do a bullion knot stitch. So I can't do them that big, or I'm going to be wrapping bullion knots for days. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and mark one that's closer. So we're going to start here, and we're going to go, oops, I don't want them longer than this apart. All right, let's go ahead and thread our needle. Okay, I did cut off a piece. I'm not crazy. Okay, I caught the knot when I was doing that last one. I didn't realize right here when I came out, I went through the knot, and that caused a problem for me. So when you're like, hey, wait, she rewound that. Yeah, because I had to start again because of that. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I think 14 will be enough. And we'll go ahead, and no wonder it was so difficult to pull through last time, because it shouldn't be giving me that much flack. I mean, it is thick thread, but I do have a bullion knot needle. Not a bullion knot needle sized for this thread, but a bullion knot needle nonetheless. Okay, let's go ahead, and since I have a tail, let's get the one that's the tail and make sure that we get this tight enough and lay it down. Okay, and we'll go down at this end. But then remember that if we were doing a stem stitch just like this one, our next one would end right here in the middle. So let's go to the middle, and I try to keep these on a line. You don't want it above, you want it right on that line. And we're going to come down to the next spot down here and do this one. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Tried to wrap a little looser that time in hopes we could, there we go, get it to go through. Okay, do you see that, how that mimics the fly stitch there, because it starts at, or the stem stitch there, because it starts at the top and ends at the bottom? Okay, let's go ahead and do our next one. So these are really just, and it should, these two come in almost out of the same hole. So when we come out for this one, we're going to want to be on the other side, but we're going to want to be at the end of that last bullion knot. So this, it really is just a series of bullion knots, but you want the locations of start and stop to correspond with what it would be if it were a stem stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Ooh, I might have wrapped it too tight again. If I'm in a demo with this thick a thread, I got to find a better big needle. Okay, so that is what I'm talking about on block 3. Right over here where I say that do these bullion knots, but do them in the form of a stem stitch. I think I call it bullion knot / stem stitch. I didn't quite get enough wraps on that one, or I pulled it funny. All right, can you see it? Yes, you can. Woohoo! Okay, let's see. We talked about this one. We talked about this one. Oh, we need to talk about the geranium leaves. Let's figure out how to get the geranium leaves. Okay. Those might look, these little geranium leaves, I'm going to zoom in a little bit on this one. These geranium leaves, they will work better if I zoom in. Yeah, might look like it's 3 separate little bullion knots, but it's not. It's one big bullion knot. Let me see if I've got enough thread to make a big bullion knot. Well, we'll make it as big as we've got. This one is a loop. Remember, a bullion knot loop. Mine is magnified, so mine is going to have a bigger gap in it than yours would. We want to zoom out just a smidge. There we go, just a smidgen. So we're going to do a bullion knot, but we're going to leave just a little bit of a gap there. Now let's wrap a lot. When you're doing it, you're going to want to wrap probably close to 45 times. Each of these loops has somewhere between 8 to 12 in it. So 36 would give you 12 in each one. 24 would give you 8, but you're probably going to want to do as many wraps. Somewhere between 30 to 45, 24 to 35 wraps. So as many as you can. Mine, I'm going to do as many as I can. Okay, now let's push it through. Also, I probably wrapped them too tight for my thick thread. All right, come on, let's pull it through. Okay, we got it through there. Now we just have to get our wraps off. Don't let go of them. Remember to hold on near the top. Sometimes you can, yeah, there we go. Pull them off one at a time down here at the bottom. This is for times when you don't have a bullion knot needle. They won't look as neat. See how they kind of unwind, but at least you can get it to work. Also, I may have to get some grippy fingers to hold on here. There we go. Okay, so first step is to make a loop. Oh, don't use a bullion knot needle and use the right size of thread. It'll be so much easier. So our first step is to make a big loop like this. Okay, but that's bigger than we want for our geranium. So we're going to separate it into, to me, geraniums have little lobes to their leaves. So we're going to go ahead and go down. And then I'm going to pick out about 1/3 of the way along. Okay, that should go through. I'm not in anything. About 1/3 of the way around. And I think 1/3 of the way is about right there. And I'm going to pick that spot and tack it down kind of in a little bit. So let's, whoops, hold on right there. That's where I want to tack you down. So just come out with your thread. And when you tack that down, it should blend in with your other threads. This is a variegated thread that you're using here, and so you might have a light spot that doesn't show as much as you'd like. Okay, and then I want that again to go up, and I'm going to come in over here on this side and tack that one down too. 1/3 of the way the other direction. Now those little tacks should make your little geraniums look like they kind of have, your geranium leaves look like they kind of have 3 lobes. Now take a closer look at these guys again. See how they have 3 lobes. Sometimes I was able to tack it in close, sometimes not as close. Let me move this one over right here. This one's a good one. Right here, as you can see the 3 on each one of them. I got better as I went along. So that's the goal, is to be able to make it kind of like it has 3 lobes to it. Okay, let's zoom back out. Okay, I almost forgot the needle weave bar. That's the one that I did across the top of here. So let's talk about how to do a needle weave bar. A needle weave bar, a basic one, just has 2 lines that are next to each other. But more advanced, you can do multiple. You can do 2, you can do 3, you can do 17. I just don't know if I would want to do that for this purpose. So we just need 2 lines that are near one another. And remember that I don't like to go down and come back if I want them to be parallel, because it just kind of pulls funny if you don't do them both the same direction. Okay, so a basic needle weave bar starts with 2 that are the same, 2 lines that are going the same direction. And then you're supposed to come up halfway in between them right here. And when there are 2, your sole purpose is just to weave. So we'll go under. So I'm coming under that side, and then under this side, and then under this side, and then under this side. So you can do all sorts of things. If you did 3 of them, you'd be going under this side, over the middle, and under the other side, and you would get the same look, but it would be wider. If you have 5, again, you can do the same thing. If you want to change the shape of a needle bar, you just change where your little spokes are, where your structure is, or your foundation for it is. So for example, when we get to block 7, there are needle weave bars to make the hinges that are on the shutter on that one. And they were supposed to look like like hinges on a gate. They were supposed to be like rusty triangles. And so because of that, on one end of the needle weave bar, I had them close together, and on the other end, I had them further apart. So you can manage with needle weave bars to make different shapes if you want. But as far as this block and the top of that pot, what I've done is just made the 2 lines and did the needle weave bar back and forth. As far as how many you need on there, you try to keep them snug so they're next to each other. Did you see how I just shoved that one over? I thought it was full, but I could squeeze it a little bit tighter and get some more wraps in, or some more weaves in. You want to keep your tension on the needle weave bar the same, and that is a little bit tricky if they're long, to keep them the same.